Okay, welcome to Plastic Models by a Regular Dude and the next episode of Plastic Models for Beginners. So we left off with the construction of the turret and the upper hull parts. So we have the three main components of the tank finished: lower hull, upper hull, and the turret. So today, number 5 is the tracks and installing the upper hull onto the lower hull and attaching the turret. So in looking at the upper hull here, we got a little bit of flash going on right around the edge of the fender here. So I'm going to hit that up real quick, kind of some final detailing and cleanup going on. Okay, that looks good. None on the back, a little bit over here. Not much. Oops. Okay, so I think the first thing we will do is assemble the tracks. Now the tracks are made out of a vinyl material, and you'll hear them referred to as rubber band tracks or whatever else. The way these type of tracks work is, and you can see it on the illustration here. Let's zoom in just a little bit. Okay. All right, there are 4 pins on this end of the track. The other end of the track has 4 holes. And it's very simple. All you do is put the track together like that. And then, now they're showing this nice complicated handmade tool made out of splittable chopsticks and a nail. And basically what you do is you heat that up with a flame and get it. You melt the tip that's protruding through the hull. You heat each one of those and melt it down, and that will give you a secure length of track. Okay. Now there's other ways you can do it, and the way I do it whenever I have this type of track is I just use a small screwdriver and I heat it over a flame, and then I just touch it to the peg as it's through there, and then just kind of smash it with my finger as it shows here. So what you end up with is this. The pin is through with a mushroomed head on it. So we'll demonstrate that. I've got my handy dandy lighter here. Put that to get that lit. Use a candle, lighter, stove, whatever you have handy. Just make sure that's flattened down in there. And you'll want to be careful that you don't touch your hot screwdriver to any of these other parts. Just the very tip of the head there of that pin. Let me scoot it up so where you can see it better. We'll get this hot. See if it's hot enough. Yes. Okay, so now that's all nice and flat. It'd look pretty gooby if it was on the outside edge of the sprocket. So when you install the track, you'll want to make sure that you do it in such a way that it's underneath or hidden underneath the fender or something like that. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Just barely touch it and mash it down. The residual heat will soften enough that you can smash it down. And the last one, just be careful, just like that. Turn your fire off, and you have a nice piece of track. See, you can see that underneath here, you can't really see where it is. So now you want to make sure that you install the track correctly. Now it's often a point of contention with model builders that, you know, display their models. Somebody will say, hey, your track's on backwards, blah blah blah. And in general, yes, the track goes on in a certain direction. However, there is photographic evidence of tracks being on backwards in the haste of battle or the haste of getting a vehicle back in action. They might get put on backwards. But in a case like that, I would only do that. I would pay attention and make sure I get my tracks on the right direction, unless you're modeling a vehicle after, say, a specific photograph that actually shows that the track is backwards. Okay, so that's just kind of a side note. But in this case, the track, the front of the vehicle's here. The angled portions of the track face that way. Okay, so you want the nice flat edge facing that way. So all you do is just feed the track onto the drive sprocket and then pull it over the idler, and there you have it. Your track is installed. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and put this other piece of track together real quick off camera, and I'll and get that installed, and then we'll move on to the upper hull portion. Okay, we're back. So we have the tracks have been installed, and just as an interesting note, remember this was designed to also be a motorized vehicle, that if you push this thing, the tracks actually roll. That's kind of dandy. As a kid, I always loved that. So next is installing the upper hull. Now here's something to point out. There's two notches here that fit underneath these two hooks here. Okay, so you slide those forward. Then in the back there's a small tab right there that snaps underneath this toolbox here. Now, something to note on that is it was designed that way so you could just snap this into place after you had your batteries and stuff installed. And that way when you need to change batteries in the future, you just kind of gap that apart and you can pop the top of the turret or the top of the hull off. But obviously we're not doing that because this isn't going to be a motorized vehicle, but that's just, you know, a design feature. They played double duty back in the day. So then the final thing is to install the turret, and as you can see there's little ears here that fit into these slots here. So you put it in place, twist it, and voila, you have completed your vehicle. So that completes the construction of the Panzer II. Gun moves up and down, the turret turns, and people may wonder, why would you want that stuff to be? Well, if you were doing, say, a diorama where you make a, you know, a bit of terrain that you can set this on, you can, you know, pose it in different ways, whatever. So anyway, that's it. So this is a really short video this time because we're going to stop with the end of construction here. So let me change my camera position, and we'll finish up talking about the Panzer II. Okay, so that pretty much wraps it up. We have completed the Panzer Mark II, complete assembly, and it is finished. So I hope this was helpful to show you how, in a step-by-step way, how easy it actually is to assemble one of these kits. Now, as I noted whenever I first started talking about the kit, I did pick a very simple kit for the first one, just so we could work on the basic skills needed to put one of these together. So I think the next video I'm going to do in this series, we're going to talk about maybe some more advanced, I shouldn't say more advanced tools, but extra tools that will help in constructing, you know, our next kits. Because the next kit we're going to do is going to be slightly, I don't want to say slightly more complicated, but slightly more complex maybe, or a little more involved. It'll have more parts, be a little bit better kit than this one, which still isn't a bad kit. So I think the next video I'm going to do is going to be pertaining to additional tools and supplies that a person can use to help in building a model kit. And I'll pretty much probably go over everything that I use on a frequent basis, and then from there, you know, if you're a beginner or, you know, wanting to add tools to your arsenal, you can do that. It'll just give you some food for thought, and I will be demonstrating how to use those tools as it comes up. So that will be the next video, I think. Then after that, we will go ahead and get into painting, and we'll use the Panzer II as our first paint project because it is a simple kit, and we're doing it in a North Africa scheme according to the instructions. It'll be a single color with no camouflage or anything like that. So I'll be doing a video on, you know, the types of paints that are available and the different ways that you can apply the paint to the model. And then we'll paint it, we'll do some decals, and then we'll have that series will be complete. Then after that, we'll move on to weathering the vehicle and show some techniques on how to weather it to make it look a little bit more realistic and not quite so toy-like, you know, once it's completed. So that's what's coming up in the future, and I hope this was helpful for anybody that's just getting started, or even maybe somebody that's been building models. Maybe it is a you know, some extra techniques or ideas on how to do things maybe differently than the way you do it now. So again, any questions, any comments, any suggestions, whatever you want to write, please put it in the comments below, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. So thank you for joining me on this first series of plastic models for beginners on Plastic Models by a Regular Dude. So until next time, thank you, and I will see you all later.